Hey. Hi. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Thank you. Hello. Oh, we're not.
Oh, that could be a
We're
problem.
not. Oh, hello. Hello. We're not on. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much indeed for coming. What an amazing turnout! It's so fabulous to see so many people here and so many friendly faces. Well, thank you very much indeed for the lovely, rousing welcome to Roger and James. I'm sure they appreciate that very much.
She's James, I'm Roger.
We always have to settle that first.
Now, I'm sure I probably don't need to give an overly long introduction, as I'm certain that most of you must already know or be inspired by the cinematographic work of my wonderful guest, Roger, who's known for his work with the Coen brothers, Sam Mendes and Denis Villeneuve in particular. Roger's name crops up more than most in our New Wave section of the magazine, where we feature up-and-coming cinematographers as a cinematographic hero.
Oh, I thought it was up and coming.
Yeah.
I was looking
Not
forward to
you,
the future.
not
You're
you.
disappointed.
Not you, not you. And indeed, Roger has been described by Richard Crudo, ASC, a former president of the ASC, as the preeminent cinematographer of our time. But what you might not know is the hugely important role that James, Roger's wife, plays in making sure that everything goes according to plan. We'll be finding out more about that in due course. So welcome, Roger and James. I think you've had a chance to have a look around the show. Have you? Your impressions of the show?
A little bit. It's great. I mean, I didn't have much chance to see much, so I'm going to go out there in a minute and hopefully be able to concentrate on the equipment.
Yeah. Although we did see you come in with Franz from Harry, who's in the audience. Hi, Franz.
Franz is my hero.
Yeah, and of course you have a long-standing relationship with Franz and Harry as well. So that's wonderful to see.
From film to digital to the future.
Yeah. And you're over here working on a film. Can you tell us anything about that?
It's called 1917.
And that's it. That's all we're allowed to say.
We promise not to tell. You can tell us here. We won't.
No, it's being directed by Sam Mendes, who obviously I worked with 3 times before, so I'm really glad to be back working with him again.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting and terrifying. So there we go.
Okay, and I think there's a movie we can next see your next work in. Is it Goldfinch coming out in October?
Yeah, we worked on a film called Goldfinch, directed by John Crowley, over last winter, and not this one just gone, or going, the one before, and that's coming out at the end of this year. Yeah.
Okay, well we look forward to that very much indeed. Now, as you'll see up here, it says it's a conversation. But it's not my conversation. James and Roger are very keen, it's their dearest wish, to take questions right throughout the session. So we'll be showing some clips, and please don't feel shy of coming forwards to ask questions. You're very, very keen to share your knowledge, your experience, and hopefully a couple of naughty anecdotes.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? Okay. So yes, you have an accumulation. I was just looking through your credit list and your nominations and your awards. It's now almost becoming sort of countless. We've got 4 BAFTAs, 14 nominations with one win at the Oscars, BSC and ASC Lifetime Awards, an honorary fellowship of the National Film and Television School, and a CBE for services to film. So where do you keep those amazing awards? Do you have a great big mantelpiece?
In the closet.
In the
back of the closet.
No, I mean, it's great, but I don't, you just get on with it, don't you?
Sure. Do they inspire you to want to sort of to keep on working, or do you look at them sometimes and think, I'm going to retire?
They've got nothing to do with my work,
right.
Really, quite honestly. Have they? I mean, I love my work,
Yeah.
What inspires me is the next script and the next challenge.
Yeah.
Like the last film was a challenge, and this next film is a huge challenge, and something very different. And that's what inspires me: stories and challenges. Actually, of the work.
Clearly, and that's
it's not about the awards. The awards, it's great going to those award shows because you meet so many people you haven't seen for a while.
Yeah.
It's like a gathering of old friends. Sometimes it's really wonderful. But that's what it means to me. It's like meeting old friends.
Yes, fantastic. So, James, obviously, you and Roger are married, and you play a pivotal role as a digital workflow and visual effects consultant on the films. And I think it'd be very, very interesting for us to learn a little bit more about your career path and how you first got into the industry, how you met Roger, and how you work with Roger today.
Well, basically, I started at a film lab and then became a script supervisor, and we met on a film. We got married soon thereafter, and then for a while I continued scripting, and we worked together sometimes, but it really is the director's choice. But then we decided we kind of didn't want to be apart on different projects. So I stopped doing that, and then I realized that because I am sort of technical, I started.
She's far more technical than I am. She'll talk to friends for hours about bit depth or something, I don't know.
What he's saying is I'm really interesting, yeah. But so I started doing it anyway, backing Roger up, and of course we're always talking about what the shots are and what it is, and he wakes up at 2 a.m. and going, I think that should be a 12K instead of what I was thinking, at 2, and it's okay. So we talk about it all the time, and so I ended up backing him up anyway on set. But then it took a couple of times, weeks for the production to understand. So I ended up taking this title anyway of digital workflow because I was watching everything go through, checking dailies and all of that. But I also
especially since we've been shooting digital rather than film, and then that role has become even more important. Just following the file through. And
well, exactly.
Timing, and all the way through to the DI, isn't it?
Right, exactly, all the way through to the DI. And then also, when we're shooting, because Roger's very focused on the set, and sometimes people are a little afraid to come up to him and ask him a question. The producers can come to me, ask me the question. I usually know the answer, but if I don't, I can go up to him, tap him on the shoulder, because he's not going to bark at me. He has to go home with that.
That's true.
So I can
not often anyway, yeah.
So I can get the answer. So we sort of work as a team, double teaming, and I can do some meetings that he can't do. And it's just basically what I'm trying to do is let him focus on the visual.
But I mean, you're the one that sees dailies in the morning now. I don't. I go to set, and you usually watch the dailies, come back, give me information, or you talk to the timer, having seen what we're shooting and knowing what I was after. Sometimes you sort of, you time it basically, or talk to the timer and say, no, he really wants it this, this adjustment, whatever.
Yeah. So that's basically it.
Sure, and I think that work extended into, actually it's going to be part of the first clip that we're going to play from Blade Runner, that your work on that sort of extended into the visual effects on Blade Runner.
Well, I always make a point of getting involved in the visual effects, because visual effects, of course, always want to do it a certain way, and sometimes you don't really want to shoot it that way. So I like to have a relationship with them to say, okay, what is it that you're trying to get? Oh, well, can we do it this way instead, which is better for camera? So I think it's really important to have that conversation.
Yeah, the thing is, on Blade Runner, it was like it went, there was so much post and so much visual effects work on it, and Denny basically wanted us involved all the way through to the end. So it was very much a matter of keeping in touch with the visual effects companies and knowing when they had something to show, and just being in touch all the time.
Yeah, and talking about what their problem was, because sometimes it was a problem that we could fix in the DI. Sure. So let's just give it to us and don't worry about it.
So, I mean, I think James said it really is like tag team,
Sure. Yeah. the dual power force, we might say. So that's a neat segue into our first clip. Actually, I think we're going to show a clip from Blade Runner 2049. Please feel free after the clip to put your hand up and ask any questions, because, as I said earlier on, Roger and James are very keen, eager, and to discuss any questions. So please don't feel shy of coming forwards. So before we show the clip, what I'd love to do, Roger, is, rather than going into any technicalities, is whether you could set the sort of scene for us as to sort of where we are, what's happening to the characters, and then when we play it back without the audio, then we can get into some of the technicalities.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a really long explanation of how you could get the point of, I think, the clip that's being shown, because especially with Denis, who we worked with, was it 3 times now?
Yeah.
We spent literally months talking through the script,
Yeah.
and then storyboarding the whole film, and then gradually analysing the characters and really kind of figuring a way to create this world that he wanted. So this clip is, I think it's right saying it's an introduction of this main character, Wallace.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I wanted to create a world that was the antithesis of what the exterior was. There was this guy who, this guy is living in a world with a pond, and he's got fish in his pond and stuff, and outside is this
barren.
It's falling apart,
Smog.
So I wanted to do that with colour and just a sense of light. He's created his own sunlight. I thought, what would you do if you could do everything you wanted, and the world outside was this miserable grey world that was actually based on, China and smog. We used a lot of references from that sort of idea. So the interior, I just wanted to contrast that. It was all about moving light. So then it was, a long time trying to figure out how to do it, really.
Also, I think you picked up on a clever irony that Wallace is, he can't see. He's blind.
Exactly, yeah.
He's blind, and he's got
Which
this
is exactly as a sort of irony to this. He's created this wonderful, but he can sense it. You see.
Sure. So yes, could we? Are we ready to play the Blade Runner clip? That would be marvellous, and then obviously repeat it again with the audio off. Thank you.
Welcome back, sir. You wanted to review the new model, sir, before shipment?
An angel should never enter the kingdom of heaven without a gift. Can you at least pronounce a child is born? A new model. Well, let us see her then. Thank you.
Wasn't it?
So
It's interesting. You want an anecdote, you see. So Jarrett's character is meant to be blind, so he insisted on wearing these contact lenses, right? And so when he's on set, he had to be led on set by hand. But when he was moving
blind.
around, he couldn't see a thing. So one time he got his directions wrong and nearly walked into the pool. It was really, poor Gerald. It was actually lovely on set, but it was like really weird. This actor who couldn't see, and he's surrounded by this pond, and it was, oh my God.
Came out with a fish.
And then on the last shot that we did with him, he left, and then he came back on set without the contacts on because he wanted to see what everybody looked like.
You hadn't seen anybody, you know.
He said to our AD, this big guy, "I thought you looked like Santa Claus, but you don't."
It was great, but it's funny. But it's funny watching a clip like that. You realise, wow, Denny's got such a sort of powerful sort of vision, and he allows a shot to play like that, push into the newborn.
Yes.
You know, it's just like, I go, wow, how many, you know.
That's rather like walking through the springtime countryside and where lambs and calves are being born. It has that kind of feeling about it, the birth. And
yeah, it's funny, that's it.
With
the
the
birth
viscera
thing was a
as
scene
well.
that came in very, very late.
Yeah.
We were talking through the script, and then we came up with this idea of the birth thing in this film of plastic. It was actually based on a fashion show that I'd seen pictures of in Italy.
Oh, okay.
Well, these models in plastic.
Yeah.
So then he adapted that into this kind of birth out of this plastic, and it was kind of interesting because Ridley Scott was quite involved in the film, just talking, you know, as a producer, and obviously, and he really didn't want us to shoot that scene because he thought it would give away the whole idea. But I think it's, for me, it's so powerful. It's like, oh, that's chilling. I think where humanity could end up in, you know, in a certain scenario.
Yeah, incredibly powerful. Shall we play the clip again and perhaps go through some of the technicalities with the audio down? Are we ready for that? So
yeah, it's like I was saying, the motif of water, you know. When Denny's idea was to have this sort of office set with the pool, you know, surrounded by water there, then I thought of the kind of water effect on the stairwell, because it's meant to be underneath this. And then I wanted this to feel like moving sunlight. It really annoys me because I can see every damn light. There's like 26 T12s in a big circle doing each one of these light patterns, so 3 light patterns, and the lights are just fading off, so there's only like 5 on at any time, but the middle ones are on full and they fade off to the edges and it sort of goes around like a chase. But you can see each light, I can see each light moving. It's not a perfect shadow, so I was really pissed with that. But no, but I spent a couple of weeks trying to get this right and changing the diffusion and taking the diffusion further from the lights. But the stage height wasn't enough to get the effect properly. I needed more height, so I was a bit anyway. And again, you know, something like this. Dennis Gassner, Denny and I spent a long time discussing the look of this set, and we looked at a lot of our architectural references of concrete sort of brutalist buildings to get this. And I was particularly struck by the work of a guy called Tyrell, who's a familiar name with the first film, but it's artist Tyrell, who designs these the way lights come into certain spaces, really beautiful work. So, you know, you pick up things that the idea of the birthing with the girl it looks like honey, that liquid, but we looked at some fashion shots where a photographer photographed these models covered in honey. So it just, you know, you get inspiration from all these strange places. It's really interesting.
That's a very interesting insight, because I do wonder where you get your inspirations from.
Well, it's not mine, it was just Denny and I just, you know, we swap images and talk. We in a hotel room in Montreal for
like 2 months.
a couple of months doing storyboards and just crossing ideas and looking up things on the internet. And
and it actually was a lot of fun because we were building a world. So would they have newspapers? You know, it was a lot of that back and forth.
Yeah, it's really fun. And the other scene in this set, so that was like 3 circles of 26 T12s at about 50 feet, I guess. I think, well, no, 40 feet because the stage, no, it was 50 feet because the stage was about 58 feet to the Reds. And then there's a night scene in the same set. And, well, it's, how do you know night or day? Really, it's not night or day. But I wanted it to feel like one was day and one was night. And so the second scene, I don't know if you ever see it, there's 2 circles of lights, and there's a total of 280 betweenies all in a row. And they're basically doing the same thing. The light's chasing around this circle. And you know, so I kind of love creating like what are really, in essence, a big practical light, you know?
Sure.
But obviously you use film lights to do it, but it's kind of fun.
Because that one also, they thought they were going to paint out, but then when we actually saw
Yeah.
it in dailies, it looks so wonderful
So
to
they
see that light
effects,
going
you see it in
around.
one wide shot, and they painted it as a stripe of light, so
Yeah.
it just feels like this, you know, light just floating in space. It's just circling around.
Yeah, I recall that shot as well, particularly.
The staircase, I'd just say the staircase was done, again, that was an idea, just, again, going on the internet, looking at different water patterns, and I thought, well, it'd be nice if the ceiling was water, and we just projected a lamp through it. So what had, and I said, well, that's nice, but it's got to be moving. So I just had all it is a sky pan on a Technicrane, just panning across the stairs. It's like so simple.
Well, it's incredibly effective. You shot, obviously, Blade Runner in Hungary.
Yeah.
I think it was a 91-day production.
Probably, something like that,
91,
yeah.
which is quite long. Just your thoughts about, you know, shooting in Budapest. You said that earlier on that you checked out the brutalist art, Soviet power stations and things like that.
Yeah, but
What
a lot
was
of
that-
it was
what was
from
all that
London.
like?
We actually scouted London and looked at some of the architecture in London. Denny had never really looked around London, because at one time we were thinking of shooting here, trying to, but there was no studio space. So Budapest, you know, Ridley had shot in Budapest, and he said you should shoot in Budapest. So, yeah.
Time for questions from the floor. Do we have any hands? Yes, there's a gentleman over here in the row at the front.
Roger, you've worked on so many different types of films, but I'm wondering if there's any genre that you haven't had an opportunity to work on that you're keen to be offered. What might that be?
Not really. I've been really, really lucky. I mean, I love westerns, and I worked on what I'd consider like 3 westerns, but I'd never done a real science fiction film till Denny was doing Blade Runner. So I was really glad. I mean, I've been sort of offered some, but I've never really liked them. You know, they haven't really suited me. And this Blade Runner being kind of dark, moody, and sort of existential was right up my
Right
road,
up your
really.
alley, yeah.
It's really depressing, isn't it? I love it.
Can you put your finger on what does, you know, I mean, apart from your relationship with the director, because that must be important, but what it is in a script that chimes with you, makes you want to...
I don't know. It's like, why do you like certain novels or whatever? What do you read? You know, I mean, it's what affects you personally. You know, I read that script. Yeah, and then it just affected me, and that's really my only sort of judgment for a film.
Well, it's also a little bit the director too, because remember when
Oh, yeah, of course.
when we read Prisoners, that was a movie that could have gone really kind of horror gothic.
Yeah.
But we knew it was our first time with Denis, but we had met him before and seen his
And
movies.
seen his work.
So
you know,
we
and-
trusted him when he
Yeah.
talked to us, and we
So
said,
you know his kind of approach, you know, because I feel you really need to understand that, because you could read a script, I could read a script and have a totally different idea of the final product. So,
and
you know,
that's
you need to be
happened
honest.
before.
And
You,
it's
know, you read
happened,
a
yeah.
script that you love, and then you sit with the director, and they
You
say, "Oh
realise
no, I'm
it's-
going to want to shoot it this way." And you're, "Oh,
You
okay,
realise,
have fun."
you realise it's a comedy. Really? Oh, I didn't know that. But, you know,
Yeah,
I know it
that's-
sounds silly, but it's true, isn't it? I mean,
That is true.
yeah.
Any other questions? We've got time for one more question. Yes, gentleman at the front here.
Hi, Adam Sushinsky.
Hi.
I'm just very interested to know your thought process when you're on set. You've done all this plan, you've done these tests, you've discussed it with all your collaborators. But you strike me as a man who uses his instinct as much as his planning. Can you talk about the process when you're finally there on the set?
Yeah, I think you've got to kind of, in a way, take all that planning, and if you want to, just throw it out the window. You know, my great friend Dick Pope there will know we used to shoot documentaries in the same time, same world, and I think that background gives you an instinct for reacting to things that are actually happening on the set rather than just sticking to some. That's why I don't really like storyboarding in a way. If those storyboards are used as like etched in stone, this is what we're going to shoot, and there's always a danger that, you know, the crew will see that and okay, this is where we are, and then you'll come in with Danny or somebody and go, oh yeah, but we could play this in a wide shot over here and there are little figures, which we did on Sicario once. It was like, my God, that works. We didn't shoot any coverage. Everybody went, what, really? And, you know, so I think so much of it is instinctual reaction. And how do you know how to react to a scene without seeing the actors there doing it? You know, you can spend all the time you like a piece of paper in an office and working out angles of light and this, that, and the other, but it's all an intellectual exercise. But I think it's really that emotional reaction you have to seeing the actors do a scene, and I kind of watch it in just the same way as I watch, you know, real situation developing when shooting a documentary, really, I think.
Thank you, Aaron, for your question. Thank you. So I think we'll, because time is surely pressing, move on to Skyfall as our second clip, which is a film that I've watched many, many times. There's some amazing facts and figures about it. It was a $200 million production. It was the third 007 film starring Daniel Craig. Centres on Bond investigating a terrible attack on MI6 in London. It was the 14th film to gross $1 billion worldwide. In fact, it's now close to 1.2 billion, or perhaps even more. Roger, you were Oscar and BAFTA nominated for that film. The critics said it was dazzlingly photographed and delivered the most impressive visuals that the Bond series had ever had since the 1960s. It was also your first ever digital shoot, the first ever digital shoot for a Bond movie, I believe. And you worked on that for 128 days.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Sorry to remind you of that.
Well, I didn't realise
that's
it was
true,
quite
it
so
was,
long,
yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
That was actually,
Don't you remember Turkey? It
I
was,
remember being
yeah.
in Turkey, but it was quite enjoyable, really.
Yeah,
But
I
maybe
remember.
that's
I
translated.
remember trying to get hold of you, and it seemed like forever that you were on.
Yeah, it did seem like that.
On that film. Yeah. So briefly before we show the clip, how did Skyfall come to you? I presume it's your relationship with Sam.
All right.
And you
I'll
couldn't
be quite
say no.
honest.
This is
I
good.
could, you see, because I worked with him obviously on Jarhead and Revolutionary Road, and had a really great experience with him, you know. And then he rang me up. We were in
Santa Fe, I think.
Were we?
I think so.
Oh right, yeah. He rang me up and said, "Don't put the phone down, but
Till I'm finished."
I'm going to do the next Bond movie." I said, "Oh, okay." He said, "No, don't put the phone down. I'll come. Let's talk when you're in LA." So we went for a walk on the beach in Santa Monica, and he just convinced me with the kind of approach he was going to take to it that, you know, I didn't want to do an action, you know, sort of film. I've not really ever done one, and you know, I didn't want to do a multi-camera shoot. I don't like that way of working. I like working in a very personal way, you know, with a camera tight to me, you know.
That was actually a bit of a shock to the Bond people, too.
Yeah, and
One
Sam
camera?
said, you know, no, we're going to shoot it like we shot Jarhead or we shot Rev Road. I mean, there's plenty of scenes there that we've got multiple cameras, but you know, you do certain things for certain reasons. But generally, it was a single camera shoot, and it was really a character study. So that really pulled me in. Yeah.
Great. If we could show the clip, I think it's quite long, but certainly enjoyable. Some amazing stuff that's going on. I think if we just sort of set the scene, Bond
I could
is.
talk over it if you want.
Should we have Roger talk over this clip? Why not? Why not? If we play it back without the sound. Bond is pursuing a baddie, isn't he, in Shanghai? And then later we see him having.
He's pursuing a baddie actually in the 007 stage at Pine.
Oh yes. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to give it away. And then he has a romantic shave in his bedroom, and then he goes into the casino in.
Oh right, I see all that. Okay.
Well, we
Macau.
went through the beginning of
So
the casino.
yeah. So yeah, if we could play the clip without the sound, that would be absolutely marvelous. Thank you. So he's up in this big tower, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
Shanghai.
we actually scouted Shanghai, and we intended to shoot in Shanghai, but one of the casino set we were going to shoot in Shanghai was a sort of existing stage set in a studio there, but it blew down in a hurricane, so we cancelled shooting in Shanghai. But this was going to be shot on like the 50th floor in a building in Shanghai, and I said I didn't think that was a good idea anyway. And I talked to Dennis Gassner, the designer, and I said, well, can't we do it in the 007 stage, which we had? And so we came up with this scenario and talked to production about just doing it as a stage set, which allowed us to do all this thing with the glass walls. And, you would never have found a location with this amount, this sort of kind of architecture, really, and certainly not in somewhere you could elicit. This is a funny story about the jellyfish. We made a model of the set and had a little laptop projecting like what the LED screen was having, and the art department had this jellyfish footage from somewhere. I don't know why.
They just grabbed it off the internet.
And when they asked us, what do you really want on the screen, Sam and I looked at each other and said, well, it's jellyfish, isn't it? And they said, well, why jellyfish? Hey.
Why not?
It looks great, doesn't it? So I thought it worked so cool. And so, I mean, I guess it's easy now to get these great big LED screens, but we were limited in having them for like a week because they were out on kind of rock shows and stuff. So this was kind of that screen, it was a really hard one to get with that kind of definition, that pixel size, whatever. And then the other one is made up of strips of lights to give you the pattern, and the design of the set is slightly in false perspective to give you a sort of sense of distance. All the city in the background is kind of partly translight and partly model, and there's a little bit of CGI in the background, but the most of the CGI is actually limited to when you look down at the street. There's a few moving cars put in, but otherwise everything else is in camera, including that glass shattering. But the glass shattering that we see in a minute, this is actually digital. That glass shattering there is digital.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it?
You wouldn't know that.
Well, we just couldn't do it with the actors, and with the camera move and everything, so...
Yeah. And this is quite a scene with the silhouetted fight.
Yeah, Sam was really intent on every action sequence having its own kind of characteristics, and this one he wanted to do in one shot. So we spent quite a lot of time choreographing that. They're only actually 15 feet off the floor, so obviously that background is CG. That was the most awkward thing to sort of light and make look like you were high up, but that's, okay, but, they gave the camera a little bit of handheld feel just to give a bit of life to it.
He's going to meet her later on, isn't he? In the
casino. In a casino, yes. Yeah. You know that, don't you? Immediately the light goes down. It's a language, isn't it? It's been done a lot, but it still works.
What I don't understand is why the Modigliani didn't get a bullet through it. But
but it was too expensive, I guess.
Yeah. And then I think we're going to go shortly into this. It's quite
a casino.
There's a scene.
Oh yeah, the scene.
Scene where Bond is
Shaving.
going to get a shave. Oh no, we cut to London.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and M's getting in for a nasty surprise. One of the things was that I think I remember talking to you. It has lots of different scenarios: Victorian London, modern London, Shanghai, and you wanted to capture, a lot of those different feelings within the movie and
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
colour to it.
That was what was great at doing it just technically, creatively, technically, I suppose, is that there were so many situations you could give its own, character to, M's cozy little house compared with where she works in, and then the sort of the gloss and colour of Shanghai as opposed to sort of the London sewers and stuff, so it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a huge amount of it with practicals.
Here we go.
This is all lit with 40-watt bulbs.
This is Bond's hotel room, isn't it?
Yes, meant to be in Macau, yeah. I mean, most of it is the practicals you see in shot, but behind like the trace screens, I just had batten strips with, maybe 4 or 5 40-watt bulbs dimmed down, just giving a sort of soft source off camera. I mean, actually, a lot of this is very few traditional film lights used.
I'm wondering whether we can give a shout out to your gaffer on this production.
Biggles, yeah, I'm working with him now. I've started working with Biggles on music rock videos in the 80s, and the first film we did together was 1984. I think that was the first film he was gaffer on.
Yeah.
And that was the first film either of us used a brute arc on, but of course nobody uses them now, do they? Not many, do they?
Well, there might be 1 or 2 cinematographers who want that quality of light.
Fantastic light.
That's another debate to be had about the LED light and the old-fashioned lights. But
well, I was talking to Franz at breakfast this morning about the thing that you can't do with LEDs, I don't think, at the moment, is get that colour, like that kind of warmth that you get when you have a tungsten light and dim it way down, or maybe you gel it a little bit, but you don't get that saturation, just that kind of warmth. So obviously this is the set, and there's actually the background CG. We did this blue screen.
I think one of the other things that I noticed about this is that the camera is very composed.
Yeah.
Not moving a lot.
No, very deliberate. I mean, here it's just sliding very slowly. Actually, this scene it's always moving, but very slowly. Sam had he does have a very distinct way of seeing every scene, and it's not about shooting coverage. That's why I love working with him. It's very kind of, you find the shot and that's what you shoot. You don't just cover it with multi cameras. It's a very deliberate style. There's nothing sort of fancy for the sake of it. You might think the glass rooms is sort of, but it's all part of the story that you've got that kind of, you create the chaos. Can he see, because one guy see the other, what's going on? That was the whole point of it. It wasn't just to be cool and with colour and glass, rooms.
And I guess the contrast here is that, he's a different style of Bond these days as well. He's a pensive and action-packed.
Now, we shot the bridge and the middle of the casino, and some of the lights on the water are on the backlot of Pinewood. All this foreground's on the backlot of Pinewood. The dragons are on the backlot of Pinewood, and all the lanterns, but the background's CG. All this was shot with a 100-foot Technocrane.
Right.
And it was shot in February, I think, and it was -2. There was ice on the ground, but luckily the water didn't freeze. Yeah. And we had this Technocrane, and we shot everything in a couple of hours. Really? And I was looking for the Technocrane for something I might do. I was looking the other day, and I heard it was sent back after this, and nobody's used it, because they thought it was really weird.
Okay.
But I thought it was great. We managed to shoot all those floating shots just off one platform with this one rig.
And I think as he enters the casino, you go to Steadicam.
Yeah, now this is Steadicam, and again, Sam wanted a kind of choreographed shot that went, way through this casino, took it all in one. So most of it is lit with the practical lights with there's extra bulbs in under each one of those shades to add to the effect. The dragon at the beginning, that was all candles with a little bit of bounce light. There's a few rigs above, dim way down, but most of it is the practicals. We spent an enormous amount of time just kind of wiring different practicals and putting gags on it and stuff. You know.
I wonder if we can give a little nod to your Steadicam operation. That was
Pete Cav, who I'm going to be working with again in a few weeks' time. Yeah, he's an old friend from doing rock videos. We did an Eric Clapton video together where all the cameras were circling the stage. I forget which one it was. And I was on a dolly, and I had a friend was on a tulip crane, which is not the best, but we were all shooting Panavision because with the big mags it looked good because we're all in shot doing this. And this crane arm came down and knocked me and the camera off the dolly. And it was all filmed by somebody else. I mean, it might have been Pete shooting on a Steadicam. And it was funny, one of the first times I went to work in LA, I went to Arthur Nemitz's to rental house to look at some camera gear, and they said, "Oh, have you seen this?" And they showed the video, and that was me falling on the floor of this Eric Clapton video. It's really funny.
It'd be great if we had some questions from the floor. We put the lights up. Yes, there's a gentleman right in the middle there. Please be patient for the microphone to come, but we're very keen to take your question.
Thank you very much. Dale Campbell here. I just wondered, on the last point from Blade Runner, where you mentioned the lights not quite fading how you'd have liked, is there anything you would take another bite of the apple of from your past films or shoots?
Is there something else or that?
Anything you'd revisit, given the opportunity?
It should never ask.
Everything,
absolutely everything. No, I mean, just something like that stands out because I still haven't solved it. That's what's frustrating. If I knew how to really make it a smooth transition through T12s, side by side, but it just wasn't possible. So, so that kind of annoys me that I didn't manage to solve that problem. But but in terms of are you really happy with anything you've ever done? No, not really. Well, I mean, it's nice to look at something like that Skyfall and I go, well, it wasn't so bad, you know what I mean? But when, a few months after you've shot it and you look at it, it's always disappointing, I find. But, gradually over time you go, maybe it was all right,
We love it though, Roger.
No, but you know what I mean? That's kind of what keeps you doing it.
No, I understand.
You just want to...
Yeah, I understand completely.
It's aesthetic, but it's also a technical challenge. It's why I love the process, because it's a sort of combination of instinct and technique.
Sure. Thank you for your question. I'm just noticing that we're pressing on time a little bit. So let's, if we move to Jarhead, and you mentioned earlier on about being touched by particular subjects. And I read that you actually read Anthony Swofford's Gulf War memoir.
Yeah.
You snapped up a copy and devoured it, and then
I'm not sure if I'd read it before Sam was doing the film. I might have done.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing I read.
Yeah. And you were touched by that, because that's an interesting story, isn't it?
Yeah. And what's really interesting about it, it's a war film, but nothing happens.
Yeah.
And the film got criticised for that, and that's really weird, because that was the whole point of it, that you train people to be these snipers and go to war, and it's like almost killing interrupters, Sure. They don't kill. I mean, it's it was in the book, and that's really quite affecting.
Yeah. It's a part of the job. We have what I just love this clip. If we can play the clip, should we play it
without sound? Yeah.
Without the sound, because unfortunately we're crashing up against time a bit. But yes, if we could play it without the sound, I think this is particularly beautiful. And off we go, yeah. So if you just set the scene a little bit for us, Roger.
Well, it's about Jake and
Jamie Foxx.
Jake and Peter Skarsgård are snipers, trained snipers, and Jamie's their platoon sergeant. As the war, in Kuwait. This is the Kuwaiti oil fires. earlier there's a scene which is the highway of death, and at this point now they're walking into the actual oil fires. We shot the whole film handheld. There's one crane shot at sunset where they're sitting watching the sunset. All this is handheld. It's all kind of made up with the actors at the moment. Nothing's really storyboarded. Obviously, in this situation, the oil fires are CG, but what's hitting them is real. Not oil, but it's it's actually happening. This we actually shot on a patch of the desert where we had put up smoke to cut the sunlight out. In the far distance was actual sunlight, and that's been taken out. There were a couple of these fires there, but we shot a number of we shot elements, we created oil fire and shot elements to go in the back of these. Again, this was all shot handheld. Scott Sakamoto and myself went in just shooting handheld, totally covered in polythene bags. We could do one magazine before it was too much, and then we'd have to spend half an hour cleaning everything and go in again.
Yes, because this was shot on film, of course, wasn't
yes.
it? Yeah.
We totally made it up as it happened. The actors just sort of did it, and we just followed it. And Scott would follow one character, and I'd follow another, and then maybe we'd swap or whatever. And we did it maybe 5 or 6 times, and that was it. So all the falling oil is actually vegetable oil that they rigged. This was done in stage 11 at Universal. We were going to shoot it outside, and I said I really needed smoke to make the effect work. There were no flames on stage. These were columns of light bulbs. They were 500-watt mushroom bulbs dim way down in a sort of column the size of the fire you see, and they would obviously replace digitally with a flame. But otherwise, all that is created just by the atmosphere and by these kind of towers of practical lights. Again, it's all handheld. We would just block the scene roughly with the actors, and Sam said, I think you should just shoot it and we'll see what happens and then work on it like that. So basically, I'd often shoot without a rehearsal and just get in there and do it, which was really fun. It was really great. I mean, I really had such a great time doing this, just because of that, really. It was like kind of taking, my documentary experience and kind of, having that freedom with a camera was great.
We were also working with a really great visual effects supervisor from ILM.
That
was fantastic.
Brilliant. Yeah.
How in depth was that the conversation with the visual effects team?
Well, he was there most of the time on set, and the thing, he was great because he said, "Okay, you don't need to do anything." I mean, basically, we painted a cyc around the stage, grey, and some of the sand dunes you see are actually part of that painting. And some of it was like a cutout, and the light would be behind it on the stand. So the cutout on the atmosphere, like that there, made you feel like it had dimension that it didn't really have. And Pablo, the effects guy, put in a little bit of smoke, and I say just replace the lights with the flame, which is something we shot in the desert at night. We created. Then there's my favourite bit of the film. This is actually probably is my favourite film. Actually, I think it's my best work as well. Actually, and I'll say that I do actually. Yeah, and we had this horse. This is my favourite scene I've ever shot. Actually,
yeah, I think this the scene with the horse is incredibly moving.
And it comes out of a reference that Sam had found with a horse, and some pictures that reference and the idea. So the horse was trained to just walk slowly towards the trainer who was off camera to the left. And we just shot a rehearsal, and Jake just came in. And how my focus point Andy Harris got this, I don't know.
Was this one take?
Yeah, I was going round. There's a cut in it, but I went round to get Jake's close-up. We might have shot it twice, but I kind of think that eye there, how do you get that? I just think that's a piece of focus pulling. It's really quite brilliant. I mean, I was shooting at 2, probably.
Sure. Yeah.
That's just because Andy's brilliant.
It's great, yeah. I mean, it's brilliant. I just love the feeling of that. I don't know. Some things move you and you don't know why. You know what I mean? It's not.
Well, well, it's an amazing scene, isn't it? He's dragging a dead body.
It's the juxtaposition of the ideas.
And then the life and the innocence of the horse is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
I think if we don't mind, do we have a question from the floor? Oh, hands are shooting up. There's a gentleman over here. Oh, and perhaps if we could start with Billy at the front here, that would be absolutely amazing.
Uh-oh. This could be a hard one, Raj.
Yeah.
Not technical.
Williams. I think it's wonderful, Roger, that you're sharing your inner thoughts and your experience
Thank you.
about how you achieve these wonderful images.
Thanks,
and I
Billy.
think it's good that you say that so often today one works with storyboards, but that when you get the actors on the set, you're free to change your mind and recompose according to what the actors bring to the scene. Now, you already worked with in film, and mainly now you're working in digital. And I wonder how you work with actors and how you manage to create the character, and with the placement of light, direction of light, and so on. And when you're working with older actors who are perhaps 25, 40, or one to look 25, is how you go about it with the light and the diffusion to create that, because generally the impression is that film is kinder to close-ups and digital. And I wonder if you have your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I don't really find that. I mean, without doing a commercial for the Alexa camera, I don't really find that. It's not just because Franz is here. I really love that camera. I mean, it actually, for me, it's more what my eye sees than film even. I mean, I love film, don't get me wrong, but I don't really see that problem. Yes, it has that definition, and you can see probably more imperfections if you're not very careful. But I mean, like on Skyfall, I mean, maybe no, I didn't do anything different. I mean, I tend to like quite naturalistically and generally quite soft. I mean, I suppose Blade Runner was some of the hardest lighting I've done for a while, but I'd say I don't know. I do it for this. The light is from the script and from the director's kind of vision, but I don't sort of adapt it particularly for a particular actor. I mean, I remember on Sicario. I mean, there was a last scene in Sicario, and Benicio's like got a tiny little bit of light on the edge of his face, and he went and watched the playback, and he was like, "Oh," I said, "Great! You don't see me. That's so great." I mean, you know what I mean? I think if the light works, then if the light works and the actor understands why it works, they're in the film rather than their own vanity, if I can put it that way, then I think you're all right. You have to build up an actor's trust. There is that. Yeah. I mean, if you don't have a performance, you haven't got a film. So you have to create the space that they feel comfortable in. But so you need to kind of let them know why it looks like that. I mean, I talked with Jarrett about why we didn't see him. I mean, the latest night scene in Blade Runner, you hardly see him. He's just silhouette for most of it. But he was fine with that. He realized why it was done. Whereas I have worked with an actor, and we shot a long scene on the back of his head, and the actor came to me after watching playback and said, "But it's on the back of my head." I didn't know what to say. That was our choice was to shoot the back of his head. I thought it was quite moving, but I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean?
But another thing too, Raj, that you say is because you operate, you're always close to the
it helps,
the actors, so you develop that kind of relationship right away with them.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I never got in trouble. I have.
Yeah.
But no, I have. But
Yeah, I know.
you know, generally it's been all right. Yeah.
Thank you, Billy. There was a gentleman here who I did promise that we would let him have a question. If you can, there's over here, a gentleman just on that row.
Thank you for this.
Hi, pleasure.
Well, my question, I thought of several questions, so I might just ask one of them. We saw a lot of your work with, the colour black and the contrast between light and dark. That sort of. So I was trying to describe, thinking about your position in cinematographers as relation to, in painters, where I think you really like Caravaggio, who plays, a lot of shadow and highlight. Is that something? Perhaps you were trained, that's something you prefer. There are certain cinematographers willing to shoot a flatter sort of image. And also, do you think that might be something, I think this scene requires, dramatic setup? Or do you just prefer that sort of manipulation between shadow and light?
I wouldn't say Caravaggio is my favourite painter. Edward Munch's my favourite painter, for many reasons. I don't really. I think you get light comes from everywhere from the natural world. Really, I don't really take it as a sort of from a painting. I take it from all the images I've ever seen and the sunsets I've seen or sunrises when I go out fishing in the morning on the ocean, and it's all that. It's not. I don't look at Caravaggio or Rembrandt and say, well, I'm going to light it like that. I don't know, it comes from your experience, what you've seen and the script, I think. But yeah, the painters I really admire, you wouldn't say that they don't light in a naturalistic way. I mean, Edward Munch, no, but he inspires me because of his compositions. And I think I'm inspired by photographers like Alex Webb, who I mention a lot. I think that his use of composition and colour is just extraordinary. And there's a number of Bruno Barbary. I mean, there's a load of photographers. I tend to look at more the work of stills photographers than anything else, I suppose, if it's for some inspiration. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm afraid we can't take any more questions on before we have to show the next clip, which I think is a cracker. It's from the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, which was released in 2007. And I think if we just go straight into it, that would be great, with the sound down, and take it from there. So yeah, Roger, if you can just sort of kind of set the scene and kind of what's happening.
Yeah, well, this is building up to a particular blue cut train robbery that happened, historical, correct. We created these lenses for this film very much, and Andrew Dominic is fantastic. He had such a clear idea of what he wanted, the kind of mood he wanted to create. It's very like Denis in that way.
These are your deaconizers.
Yeah, these are what they also label them the deaconizers, yes. They're very crude old lenses. A couple of them were just the wide angles with the front element removed. Yeah. And you get this wonderful vignetting. I say Andrew was, we kind of storyboarded this film, but mostly we kind of looked at locations and spent a lot of time figuring out the mood and the kind of, a lot of this kind of textural kind of feelings. That the book, I read the book and the script as well, is that it's kind of like a poem, And so we really wanted this Western to feel real, but it was a kind of melancholy kind of look at a past that's not romanticized. It's just the fading, I've always loved Peckinpah movies because they're always got the same melancholy about the world changing and people getting older and not being able to keep up. I feel like that quite a bit sometimes. And Jesse James was like that at this period in his life. The world was changing, and this is his last robbery. Well, it was great working with Andrew. As he said, I want this really dark. And I said, well, what's dark? You know, I mean, it's hard. I've worked with a director, and he's watched dailies, and it was dark, and it was a silhouette. And he said, but I can't see their faces. And I said, but I said it was going to be a silhouette. and so there's a lot of different, but Andrew really wanted this dark. So this is basically, you know, the oil lamps are dummied with bulbs, with 250-watt bulbs dimmed down. That's all. Hide the cable up the sleeve or let it drag. There's one shot where it had to be painted out, and otherwise there's just kind of a little bit of light off a gold bounce, but it's very, very minimal lighting. I had lit this whole scene with a couple of cranes and a couple of small HMIs because it's a forest, and I thought, oh, well, I'll just delineate the trees a little bit. And I had them up right literally 5 minutes before the take, and I said to Billy, my gaffer, no, it wasn't Billy, was it? It was Damien, my gaffer in Canada. I said, just turn everything off. Because we managed to get this fog, which was like an effects fog, but it laid so smoothly, I just knew that light was going to do it. This is a 5K PAR, which had recently been invented, I think.
And the train itself is a character, isn't it?
Yes. Andrew was a bit disappointed the train is not as big as he wanted, but this was in a park in Edmonton with a museum, you know, Western kind of museum, and this is all the train we could get. So we wanted to make it feel as big and powerful as possible, hence the shot, which is this. Very low tech. There was a platform on a carriage with the camera was just handheld on a piece of foam, and there was a bit of foam, so when the train hit our carriage, it just melded to it, and very low tech. We had storyboarded this, so it's actually very much shot to the storyboards. And, you know, you cut from this very precise, in a way, stuff then to that sort of handheld thing, and again, Andrew really worked out. A lot of these things were based on images we'd seen, not a period or anything, just images we'd seen and said, well, let's go this sort of way. So it was all real train carriages shot at night. Everything was wired. Lamps like the one hanging, I specifically chose them because the shade, I hid some little halogen bulbs in there and dimmed them way down. So there's no light but what you see in the shot, light in it. You know, just the practicals were little dummy bulbs. Again, everything's very kind of worked out. We didn't shoot. I don't think we shot a shot on that film. That's not in it. There's some scenes that are not in it.
Yeah. Okay.
But in a sequence like that itself, all the shots kind of go together as we shot them.
Yeah.
But there is another half hour of movie that was taken out, which has always left me a bit saddened because,
the first cut was like 3:40 or something, and it was wonderful.
And it was,
but
it
studio
was a
didn't
wonderful
like it.
3-hour 40 movie, but it was really wonderful.
Sure.
And it didn't matter cutting it down because hardly anybody saw it anyway, so they could have just left it as 3 hours 40
It would have been the same.
and made the same amount of money, really.
Just a little bit just to go back to your deaconizers, because that look is terrific.
Well, it was the idea, you know, an old box camera lens, you know, and we used it a few times, and the studio actually said, we think you should shoot the same shot with another conventional lens because we don't think it's going to work. And actually, we said, no, we're going to shoot them, but we shot less than we should have done.
We stuck to more transitions.
We should have shot. Yeah. We used it on transition. We should have let it go a little bit more into some of the sequences, and we kind of pulled back a bit because that's what the studio said. And I remember talking to Andrew, towards the end of the shoot, and saying we blew that. We should have used it a bit more and just been more brave, really. But
it has. I think it has a sensational look, and it leads perfectly well into that scene. Do we have some questions? We've got some hands shooting up over on this side. There's a gentleman with a hat on.
Hello, Roger.
Hi.
I have a question. in the beginning of the talk, you said that on working with your new film with Sam Mendes, you described it as being a bit terrifying for a new movie. And my question is, as a starting cinematographer, I noticed that on set I often feel I can feel quite stressed in a negative way.
What a surprise.
You're not the only one.
I don't think that's necessarily negative. I was lucky enough to become quite friendly with Conrad Hall. And we had dinner together a lot. He'd come around and we'd talk film. And he said he was always incredibly nervous on a set, especially, you know, for the first few days. And he would often walk in and just go up to the camera and put his eye on the eyepiece so that nobody talked to him, because everybody thought he was really concentrating on the shot, but really he was there going,
what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
And that made me feel much better. He was a really great guy to talk to about that. He was very honest about things like that. It wasn't bullshit. He was. He said he'd walk on a set and he'd think, I just don't know how to do this anymore. And then you see what he did. It's like, oh my God.
Are there any things over the span of your career that you have learned that to cope with these stresses on set? And
do you have any good drugs?
Fully enjoying being on set and doing that?
It's, you know, I still get stressed out. James will tell you, I still have sleepless nights.
Oh, yeah.
But I love doing it too, you know, I love the challenge. So I don't think one comes without the other.
But also you surround yourself with the same crew, so it's kind of like you have that kind of support
it's true, right
away.
It's key people now, even, you know, now there's a couple of guys coming over from America, you know, that I work with regularly, and that my guys here I've worked with on Skyfall and stuff. So, you know, familiarity and friends, you know, and that really makes it a lot more comfortable, really.
We have a question over here from a gentleman with a cap on.
Hello. I would like to ask, coming from a documentary background and very much in the framing and working with the natural light that was there, and then taking that into your filmmaking, in terms of that transition and going on to big feature films, dramatic sets, how did you make that transition technically? Did you work with a really strong gaffer, and how much do you rely on the gaffer to figure out the technical aspect of it sometimes? Especially at the beginning of your career, when you came fresh from documentary.
Well, I mean, in England, we did like the first 15 films I did, all but one were with Biggles, John Higgins, the gaffer I'm working with now. And he hadn't gaffed a film before he worked with me on 1984. I mean, he's kind of experienced electrician, but so we kind of learnt together, really. I mean, I think you learn just by doing it. I mean, I remember reading an article about making a Chinatown, shot by John Alonzo, and he said he'd been, you know, his experience had been documentaries really up to that time, and, you know, low budget stuff. And he said he had this big set of this, you know, the house that he had to light. And he said, you know, only way he figured to light it is how he would light a documentary. So he got all these batten strips of bulbs and put them up above the windows and taped diffusion around them and did it like that. And he said the crew in Hollywood were aghast because there was hardly a traditional film light on the set. So, you know, that's how he developed into a great features cameraman. And I think you just got to, you find your own way, really. It's not a formula that you get these film lights, you have a Brooker here or whatever. There's no rules. It's just what you do. I mean, I started off a lot with using a lot of, you know, bounce cards and different materials and stuff, you know, which, you know, you just play around with light, really, and learn, you know. I mean, I'd done a lot of the film school, I must say. I think it was a wonderful start for me going to the National Film School. I shot like 15 films there. So I actually had done a lot of lighting before I left film school. Even though I did sort of 7 years shooting mainly documentaries, I was still doing little short films that were dramatic with lighting. But I had that experience at film school, so when my chance came to shoot features, you know, I kind of developed, well, not a style, but I developed a way of working. I had enough experience, you know what I mean?
I think there are some hands. Where are the microphones? We've got one there, and where's the other one? Can't see him because we've got some hands right at the back.
Oh, yeah.
If you were able to take up the microphone.
Shout.
Thank you for standing at the back. It's very kind of you to come, and thank you for your patience, and hopefully the microphone will head towards you soon. But who's got the mic? Okay, yeah, make yourself known to us and ask your question.
Hi there.
Hello.
Thank you so much for your talk. I just have a question regarding your mindset when you're not filming. So,
Good question.
When your film is finished, do you just completely block out? You just think, okay, I just want to concentrate on my other life and just not think about film, or you're continuously inspired, looking for inspiration from other aries?
There's always nervousness about the next project and whether I'll get one. No, I mean, really. Our life is actually in film, really. Do we have another life?
Well, you fish every
so
often.
I like going fishing. That's my kind of release. Yeah,
but we're often talking about another film and talking about the prep of that and everything. So we are a little film-centric. We're incredibly boring.
Yeah.
Well, I had a supplementary question to that, which is, of course, you know, some of these shoots, they're very long, 128 days for Bond, traveling around the world. I mean, you know, how do you kind of keep body and soul together? You just
don't have children, number one.
That's why it's so great we kind of work together, because, you know, we were in Morocco with Marty Scorsese for like 103 days.
A very long
you know, but it's wonderful because it's our life and what we love doing, you know, and experiencing that, you know, experiencing a new world together as well as the crew and everything else, you know. So that, for me, film, I mean, I love doing it and creating things, obviously, but I love the experience. There's nothing better than the camaraderie you get with a crew, with everybody working for the same end. And, you know, I mean, the people I work with, because the guys I work with for so long now, the effort they put in and the dedication and commitment, and I say just the friendship, it's like, you know, that's what you live for, isn't it, really?
I have one closing question. It actually comes from Joe Dunton. Joe wants to know when you're going to direct.
Yeah,
that's what he always asks.
always talking about that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. You know, a number of years ago, we wrote a script and, you know, tentatively kind of met with people and Oh, an anecdote. I went into a meeting at Fox, who remain nameless, with this producer with a script I hadn't written. I'd worked on it with a writer, and it was about 2 young girls getting lost in the Amazon. And the producer said, "It's really interesting. We could get Claire Danes and imagine her in a wet T-shirt." So I kind of walked out of the office. I thought, you know. So that was enough, really. I can't deal with those sort of things, and I love making images. So I get the best of it, really, because I work with somebody like Denny or Andrew Dominic or Sam. You know, I mean, I just couldn't be better, really.
Well, long may you continue to do that. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's been amazing to see you all here. Thank you for sitting patiently, and I'm sure there's plenty of sore feet, sore bottoms. It only remains for me to say, let's give a huge, huge round of applause to James and Roger for coming along. Thank you very much, everybody.